So welcome everyone to this Clean Sport Insight Forum. This is our third Clean Sport Insight Forum. So welcome, it's great to see everyone here today. Our first Clean Sport Insight Forum was in 2019 in London. Our second one should have been in Ljubljana in Slovenia, but because of the pandemic, that got moved online. So it's so good to be back here in sunny Birmingham for another in-person Insight Forum, because as I'll go on to mention in a while, I think it's really important to have these in-person events. It's great to see you all today, and obviously very exciting time as well here in Birmingham with the Commonwealth Games just around the corner. So sport is very much, it's very high on a lot of people's agenda at the moment, and that'll only grow over the coming weeks, I'm sure. This is my first in-person event that I've contributed to or even attended since the pandemic. And I thought that there was going to be something quite unique, and then the more I speak to people, the more I realise that's probably the case for a lot of the people in the room. But interestingly, the last one I attended, and this might be the case for a few of you as well, was actually in this room and also hosted by UCAD as well. So it was the Clean Sport at the Front Line, which was March 2020, a couple of weeks just before we all went into lockdown. So we were all touching elbows in this room just before. So it's quite interesting, I think, that, and hopefully be, sort of bookending the worst part of the pandemic in terms of normal activities with successful events hosted by UCAD. Sort of on that as well, I'd like to sort of thank UCAD as well for hosting this event, and particularly to Sam Poole and Sean Soutel for all the work that they've done in putting this event on. It's posed challenges along the way, but we've got through those and we're here today, which is great. And UCAD are one of 8 Clean Sport Alliance partners that are part of the project that we're going to be discussing quite a lot today, the Respect P project. And that's from across 6 European countries, those 8 partners. And this is funded by the Erasmus Plus programme, as was our predecessor project, which was the Respect project, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment, because this is sort of a continuation of that work. But the Clean Sport Alliance are a coalition of both NADO education practitioners and academic researchers. And I think that's important to point out in terms of, it sort of underpins our one of our key sort of philosophies in what we're trying to achieve with the Clean Sport Alliance, in terms of sort of bridging this gap between research and practice. And that really helps sort of us ensure that the research that we're doing is informed by practitioners and is doing the work that is important for practitioners, but at the same time also helping ensure that their practice is research informed, which is really important for us. Also, through the work that we're doing, and this is where I'd like to talk a little bit about the Respect project, that sort of that this is following on from. One of the key things we're trying to do, and we aim to do through this work with the Clean Sport Alliance, is to influence policy, but also to influence the narrative around doping prevention. So very much shifting that narrative away from sort of identifying and the cheats and catching the cheats, but moving towards sort of understanding and supporting clean athletes. And we'll hear from clean athletes today. For that very reason, because one of the things that we want to do is sort of raise the voice and the prominence of the majority of athletes, which is the clean athletes. But sort of reflecting back on the Respect project and some of the successes that we had, I mentioned there about influencing policy. We were successful with that project. We developed a 10-year research plan with that project that has now informed WADA's social science research programme. So it's influencing the funding of research, the type of research that's going on, and it's something as a coalition that we're very proud of. But also in terms of changing that narrative, so the Respect project started in 2018, and in the 4 years since then, I think we'll all agree, and probably started before then, but we've definitely seen a shift in that narrative towards talking about the clean athlete. I think only, I'm looking for Andrea, where Andrea is in the room, but a couple of weeks, oh, that's at the back there, it's not sat down, yes. A couple of weeks ago at the WADA Symposium, I know Andrea was presenting some of the findings from Respect and talking about the importance of understanding and supporting clean athletes. And that's obviously a very important stage to be having those discussions to sort of shift that narrative. So that was good to see as well. So what we're aiming to do with the current project now, sort of moving on from Respect to Respect P, and what we've been doing over the last couple of years with the research we've been doing and now we're starting to present, is to try and sort of progress that work into understanding, sort of raising the voice of clean parasport, para athletes and within parasport, and understanding clean sport in parasport. But also athlete support personnel as well. So the reason that we sort of focused on para athletes and athlete support personnel was because we felt there was a gap. And if you look at the research evidence, these are two underrepresented groups at the moment. And there's definitely a change in that. And we're starting to see research being done in parasport and also more work with athlete support personnel. But we're really keen and we're really happy to be sort of contributing to that emerging area of research. And we'll start to present some of that today. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, we've, despite the best efforts of COVID and the rail strike, we've still put together what we feel is a really excellent agenda today. So we're really excited about that and looking forward to that. We've got two excellent keynote speeches. So those addresses, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The first one's going to focus on how we protect and support the integrity of parasport. So we're really looking forward to that one. And then the second one is a more focused keynote address, and interestingly sort of link into one of our key areas of interest around sort of anti-doping and doping prevention. But thinking about classification in terms of, classification's probably at a stage now in terms of regulation, maybe where anti-doping was 10, 15 years ago. So that'll be thinking about what can we learn in terms of regulating classification from the lessons that we've learned through anti-doping and the development of particularly education around doping prevention. So really looking forward to those. We've also got two panel discussions. First one of those this morning will be with Paralympic athletes. So 3 Paralympic athletes from across Europe. Really looking forward to that one. That obviously ties into what I was saying earlier about sort of raising the voice of clean para athletes. So really looking forward to hearing that and sort of the reflections on what the athletes consider to be some of the key issues around clean sport in parasport. And then the one in the afternoon is going to focus on 2 sort of key integrity issues around parasport. So one of those being classification and the other one being boosting. So if you're not aware of what boosting is, there might be people in the room that are not. I can guarantee you'll know what some of the issues are and what boosting is itself by the end of that panel discussion. And it's definitely you'll see that both very important integrity issues in parasport. We've also got this morning 2 research presentations. I'm involved in one of those, so looking forward to presenting some of the initial findings from our research. But what we've also importantly got is some of our NARDO partners then reflecting on the findings from that research and what might be important considerations for them in terms of their practice. And then alongside that, later in the day, we've also got an interactive clean sport education session, which is going to be discussing how we deliver clean sport education when it's tailored specifically to para athletes. So really looking forward to that. So it's a great range of things on the agenda, I think. So looking forward to all of those. Just sort of reflecting back and thinking about in-person events, for me, one of the key things about in-person events is the enhanced potential for sort of engagement with the audience and interaction with the audience. So we've very much set things up today to try and capitalise on that. So for some of the sessions, we'll be asking for questions at the end of the presentation. In others, we're going to ask for some questions in advance. I'll tell you more about that just after lunch, so that you're aware of what we're asking for there. But then in other sessions, we've got interactive elements that are embedded within them as well. So the education session being one example of that. So yeah, please encourage you all to engage with us and as much as possible. And then sort of aligned to that and related to that as well, I think the other important thing on days such as this is that interaction that takes place outside of the formal presentations, so during the breaks, during lunch, where sort of we're all engaging and speaking with one another. I think it's almost as important that those sort of networking and interactions that we have. So during those periods, so I'm really looking forward to sort of speaking and with many of you and hearing what you think about some of the things that we're going to present through the day today during those breaks.